Are you looking for a perfect pumpkin spice fall treat just in time for spooky season? Well, you've come to the right place. Follow along as I teach you how to make pumpkin bars. I have been baking this treat for over 10 years every Halloween season, and people rave over it. This evening, I will teach you how to make pumpkin bars from scratch, first starting with the prerequisites, the cake layer, icing layer, and then enjoying the treat. This evening, we will be following the pumpkin bar recipe of the world-renowned and famous baker, Miss Paula Deen herself. She recently released this recipe in 2019 and it has gotten 5-star ratings. Before we begin, there's lots of ingredients you'll need for the pumpkin bars. For the cake layer, you will need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of salt, any kind, 1 2/3 cup granulated sugar, 4 eggs, 1 cup of vegetable oil, 1 can or 15 ounces of pumpkin puree. And then for the icing layer, you will need 1 package or 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, 1/2 cup of softened butter, 2 cups of confectioner's sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then a spatula, a bowl, a 9x13 pan, and an electric mixing bowl. First step is you'll want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Next up, add your pumpkin puree, sugar, eggs, and oil into a mixing bowl and mix it at medium speed until light and fluffy. My grandmother Sandy, who has won many local baking competitions, told me to avoid over-mixing the pumpkin bar batter as it can lead to the cake not rising properly. Next, you're going to want to mix all your dry ingredients, the flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, and cinnamon in a separate bowl. Next, we're going to add our dry ingredients into the wet ingredients and mix it on medium speed until it is thick enough to be considered a peanut buttery texture. This is what your batter should look like, and then next you are going to pour it into your pan and put it in the oven. The following step is to put the pumpkin bars in the oven and bake them for 30 minutes. However, you're going to want to start checking them at 25 minutes to avoid overcooking them and burning the batter. While our pumpkin bars are baking in the oven, we can go ahead and begin on the icing process. First, you're going to want to throw your softened cream cheese and your softened butter in the electric mixing bowl and beat them together at medium speed until they are smooth. After you've beat it and it's smooth together, this is what your cream cheese and butter mixture should look like. And the next step following that is to go ahead and pour your confectioner's sugar in with the previous mixture and beat them until smooth for a couple minutes on medium. You'll want to keep your speed at a little bit of a lower medium, not a high medium, to avoid the confectioner's sugar flying out of the bowl. After you've mixed your cream cheese, confectioner's sugar, and butter mixture, it should be a thick, Cool Whip look to it. And then you lastly are going to add your teaspoon of vanilla extract in there and hand mix it together. After roughly 30 minutes of the cake baking in the oven, we're going to check to see if it's ready. A great way to see if it's ready is taking it out. First, by glance, it should look a good golden brown color, and that's exactly what we have here. And another great way is to take a toothpick or a knife and put it through the middle of the cake. If no dough or batter comes back up, then we know it's ready to be taken out. Once we have our end result of a perfectly golden brown and moist cake, we're ready to go ahead and pop it in either the fridge or the freezer based on personal preference. This step is essential in this process because if we don't allow it to cool completely in the fridge or freezer, then the icing we're going to put on next will completely melt all over the cake. Once we finally have our pumpkin bars outside of the fridge or freezer, we are ready for the final step of spreading the icing on top of the pumpkin bars. Be sure to spread every single bit of it evenly across the pumpkin bars and you're good to go. Finally, we have reached our end result of what our pumpkin bar should look like. Today, you have learned how to make the perfect fall dessert of pumpkin bars, starting with the cake layer and icing layer to top it off. Next time you are in need of a Halloween party dessert to bring to your friend's house, resort to these pumpkin bars.